Hi guys, my name is Zarina, and in today's video we're going to discuss how to get a job as a product designer. Our guest is Oksana, and Oksana is working as a lead product designer at Salesforce. Keep watching this video, subscribe to the channel, and share a like. Today our next guest is Oksana, and Oksana is a lead product designer at Salesforce. Prior to Salesforce, Oksana was working at Google, and so we're gonna divide our conversation in two parts. The first is gonna be about your experience of how did you get a job, and the second one is just the general questions about the designers. So how to get into design, what tools need to be learned by designers in order to succeed, and just the tips and tricks for the designers. And hi, Oksana.
Hi, Zarina. Hi, guys.
Thank you so much for joining me. And maybe we can start this conversation with you introducing yourself and telling us, what do you do?
Sure. Hi, my name is Oksana. I'm product designer at Salesforce. I've been with Salesforce a little bit less than 2 years. I'm originally from Ukraine, moved to United States 4 years ago, and my first job was a contract position at Google. And then after Google, I joined Salesforce. And so what we do at Salesforce, we develop products that help businesses at scale to work with their data and to make sense of their data.
Awesome. Now let's start with the first part of the questions. Can you tell us your story of how did you find a job at Salesforce after Google?
Sure. So a hobby of mine, sometimes time to time, to attend different UX and design oriented events. So that's how I got to Salesforce portfolio review event. And on that portfolio review event, I got an excellent opportunity to review my portfolio, and also I got to know that Salesforce is hiring, and so that I applied to Salesforce job, and eventually got a screening interview with the hiring manager, and then I got an invitation to come on the on-site interview.
How did it happen? Did you ask for referral, or can you please describe that?
I came with my portfolio, and I've asked, there's like rounds, and you ask several people to take a look on your portfolio and to give you some feedback, give you some suggestions how to improve that. And then people are very willing to share and very, very willing to help. And so one of those person who reviewed my portfolio, I've asked him for a referral, and that's how I actually applied to Salesforce. And then later on, I got in touch with him and asked if they have an open position in the team, and if that's okay if he refers me.
Mm-hmm. And what are the key points in the designer's portfolio that recruiters or hiring managers pay attention to?
So in my opinion, it's important to remember that your portfolio is for quality, not for quantity. So you don't need to add everything you ever worked on in your portfolio. Just add projects that you are proud of, or you think they showcase your best skills and best abilities. Then I think another thing is don't include one type of form of the design, such as website or illustration. Bring some diversification in your portfolio. So try to include web designs, desktop designs, plus mobile. Then in the project you include in your portfolio, you need to show your design thinking behind it and your design process. And also try to make sure that your project will highlight all the skills, or at least main skills that you have as a designer. So for example, if you know how to prototype, or you know how to do some usability studies. And in the real life, I had an example like this. One of my mentors, she was working on the portfolio, And when we reviewed her portfolio, we understood that some piece of is missing. And that piece, after the conversation with her, we understood that that piece was her process around creating sketch prototypes and paper prototypes. So she, as she said, she didn't include those because she thought that they are not perfect. But that's actually a very important piece, which showcase to me as someone who reviews her portfolio or read her project, how she actually came to the conclusion she made and how she actually came to that design solution. Make sure to highlight your process, make sure to highlight your skills, and make sure to tell a story about the project and how did you come from the very beginning, from the very early idea to the conclusion and the final designs.
How do you showcase your portfolio? Is it a slide deck or is it a website?
Usually you do website. Sometimes on my previous experience of interviewing with other companies, some companies might ask you to create slide deck for them and to show your portfolio in the slides. So probably it's nice to have both, just in case, you know, to have a website and also to have a deck with your projects.
Do you think it's important for a designer to be listed somewhere on Dribbble or Behance? And do companies, when they're looking at the candidates, actually look at those and search online for the candidate's work?
I think based on my experience, a lot of people a lot of recruiters and hiring managers search for candidates online, especially that's true for LinkedIn. I think it's less true for Behance and for Dribbble, but it's still possible. You can get some invitation or some message from recruiters on occasion, but that's mostly happens through the LinkedIn. So if you're in the active job search, it's always a nice idea to have your profile full and up to date, and also to have your link in there so recruiter can just go and check out your work. But to be honest, I think Dribbble and Behance are mostly used by other designers to create a community, to get an inspiration, to share work, and less for job search than on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Can you remember what types of questions did they ask you at the interview when you were interviewing for Salesforce?
The process of interviewing in Salesforce is very similar to interviewing in other companies. So when you come to the interview, be expected to ask what is your design processes, how do you handle complicated situations, how do you approach complex problems, how do you build personas. So kind of those type of questions. And also Salesforce, as well as Google, as other companies, they might ask you to solve some design challenge or maybe to design an app or something. So the people who interviewed you, they can see your design process and they can see your design thinking behind the screens and behind the sketches.
What skills do you think a candidate should have in order to succeed in the interview?
In my opinion, definitely you should have some design skill set, knowing some tools in which designers create designs, which is Sketch and Figma. It's a tool of your choice. No one in the company will let you or tell you in which tool you need to work. So whatever tool you prefer, Sketch and Figma is the most common. Also, prototyping tools are important because those prototypes you create will be then used for usability testing, or maybe they also will be used in the presentation, internal or external, depends on your project. So some prototyping tools, again, tool of your choice. It might be InVision, it might be Axure, it might be any other tool, you name it. I work, for example, in Principle to create maybe GIF prototypes. I work in Axure for more high fidelity prototypes. So again, it's up to designer to choose it. And then also, I think there is, aside of technical skills, there is a huge ask for a designer to know user-centric design methodologies. Kind of how to create persona, how to understand mindset of your users, how to address your users' pain points, and to understand what actually is that they want to see in your product. And meantime, we need also to address business needs. So that's kind of like a sweet balance between what users' expectations are and what business needs are.
That's great. Another question that I had from the audience is, in your opinion, should the resume of the designer be any different from the resume of the candidate for the other position? For example, a product manager is a resume, one pager, plain text, no design whatsoever. So what about designers? Do they have different expectations? Like, do they have to have like this beautifully designed resume, and does it show their skills as a designer?
Yeah, sure. So in my opinion, there is one thing which is definitely in common for all the resumes, no matter what the role is and how many years of the experience you have. Your resume should address job description. And so when the one applies for a job, they should have their due diligence and to read job description and to make sure that their skills that are highlighted in the resume match to what the company requirements are. And that's completely fine if you have different type of resume, if you have different versions of resume that you apply to different companies. Another thing that I think is important to highlight in resume is your achievements. So what have you done in the previous experience and what company gained from your work? And it doesn't matter if you have very little of the experience, or maybe you're just a new grad, or maybe you had some volunteering work with other organizations. Still, it's helpful and handy to highlight how impactful your work was and how company benefit from what you were doing. I think those are two main key points that unite both of the words, let's say this.
And as far as the design of the resume, in terms of its looks, of its pretty resume or just plain, it doesn't matter for designers as well.
Honestly, I think it matters for everyone. It's when your resume is visually attractive, it's nicer to read and it catches more attention. And when your text is highlighted in bullet points and you have separate sections. So I think it's important that your resume can be visually consumed and understood, because you know how the recruiting process works. People don't read your resume word by word, they just glance, and if something catches their attention, then they dig into details. So your resume just should catch an eye.
So there is another question that was from the audience, and the question is, do you know any resources where candidates who apply to the designer position can get the feedback on their portfolio?
Sure, there are so many resources out there. I think the main resource for candidates is LinkedIn. And I can give you an example. Even a few days ago, random person whom I never met before offline just reached out to me, asking for feedback for her portfolio and just asking for reference to company. And we just hopped in on the call and chatted. And she was a new grad who was looking for a job and who was looking for the recommendations how to start her career in the UX. So that attitude, you know, when you're just feel free to reach out to different people on the LinkedIn whom you can ask for the advice, whom you can talk to, and people are very willing to help and willing to review your portfolio and willing to give an advice in the career. So LinkedIn is probably source number one. Then, of course, if you're, for example, in Bay Area or maybe any other city where you have Facebook and events, just go on the design related events. And that's a perfect opportunity for you to meet people and to expand your network, to maybe um, make new friends, and maybe even to ask someone to refer you to a company you want to work in. So I think that is also another point. And then so many resources online where you can just go and apply for being a mentee. So for example, I'm a mentor in the UXPA organization. That's an organization which helps someone who just starting in the career to get matched to someone who is willing to give advice and spend time into developing other people career and other people's skills, design skills. So that's only one of the examples, but there are so many different events and so many different organizations where people can just apply to become a mentee or to become a mentor.
Wow, I think that's really valuable. And but this group or this event is only for designers, right? For UX designers, as far as I understand.
So the ones which I named, yes, but I know there are plenty of similar events and organizations for engineers. I bet there are so many, as many as those for different roles.
So how did you find this organization?
At some point, I was just interested in helping other people, because I also 4 years ago I also was new to Bay Area, and I also had not that much of the experience, especially in the United States. So I assumed that there are so many people out there as me, and I regularly get contacted by my friends who ask to review portfolio of their friends or to give advice to other designers who are just starting their career. So I figured that I want to help people, and I want to have kind of some structure. And I just Googled organization where I can become a mentor, and that's how I applied there. And the process works like this: you apply to be a mentor, and then match you to a couple of mentees, and you kind of meet occasionally once in a week or once in the 2 weeks, just to talk about their portfolio, about their career, what skills they need to improve, where they can do better, or maybe just to give them appreciation on what they're doing and they doing their best. So
Wow, that's great. Is this a Facebook group or is it a website?
this UXPA organization, they have their own website. You can sign up on the email newsletters. You can also find a Facebook page. Yep. And to become a mentee or to become a mentor, you just need to fill out their Google form, I guess, and they will get in touch with you as soon as the new season of matching becomes or starts.
What would you suggest for a person who has a professional gap in their career? And for example, this person was a designer, and then she stopped designing for a certain period of time, and then now she's trying to break through again into the design world. So what would you suggest to that person?
Sure. I would definitely suggest search for jobs and apply. Don't be afraid to apply, even if you see that you kind of maybe a company requires 3 to 5 years, but you have only 1 year or 2 years of experience. It didn't mean that you don't match to that company. You still should apply, and who knows, maybe recruiter will see in your resume something that they've been looking for, or maybe hiring manager will see something in your portfolio that actually matches to the project they looking a person for. And then when you'll, for example, will get a chance to jump on the call with a hiring manager or with someone from the hiring committee, you can communicate and convey that even though you don't have much experience, you've learned a lot from your previous experience, and you've had or you have those skills which can help company to succeed and which can help make a project successful as well. So don't be afraid, just go ahead and apply, and you never know.
I think it's a great advice. I think that because sometimes people are scared that they have just like 2 years of experience or 1 year of experience, and then the job description says like we need 5 years of experience, and people are scared to apply, thinking like they're not qualified.
I understand that, but we all been there. We all have started our career at some point, and we had very little or no experience. And even for me personally, 7 years ago, I started my career in the design, right? And I had very little of the experience and so portfolio, I would say. But someone, my first employer, they believed in me, and I think because I had a lot of eager to learn, and I was able to, and I was ready to prove that I'm able and capable to work hard and deliver fast. I think the employer just, gave me a chance. So I'm completely with you on that. Just don't be afraid and go ahead and apply. And someone will believe in you and give you that push and that start in your career.
There's this anecdote from this topic. It's like we're looking for a person on an entry-level position just right out of school because we have this little budget, but you have to have 10 years of experience.
Yes, I've seen that. Sometimes that's true, yeah.
Yeah, that's from the same thing. Okay, and so my last question would be if you can provide something or share some value to our viewers, something that is going to help them to find their dream job. What is this you can provide? What can you share?
Sure. So there are probably a couple of advices. If you're someone who's just starting, it's, of course, you need to learn a lot because industry is moving fast and companies moving fast. So you need to be up to date, up to speed. So go ahead, read books, listen to podcasts. One of my favorite book I can suggest you to read is Lean UX. Probably, Zarina, you'll include those links to a video, right? This book is Lean UX, Applying Lean Practices to Improve User Experience by Jeff Gothoff. That book teaches you how to apply Lean UX in the agile environment. Then for me, for example, what works well, sometimes when I work during my work time, I listen to UX podcasts, and there are so many out there, so many great podcasts. And you can learn a lot about industry and people in the industry and the latest technologies. So one of those podcasts will be UI Breakfast and 99% Invisible. And also, I would recommend time to time just read blogs, such as IDEO blog or Frog blog. You can go to Envision blog. People do post a lot about the UX, and I think each designer should have some bookmarks around other blog posts. And last but not least, I know we're all busy, but just try to find time on occasion and go to design meetups or design events. That would help you to expand your network, find new friends, find someone who can refer you to a company. And in general, it's just really helpful to stay on the latest trends and know what is the latest in the industry.
Thank you so much, Oksana. That was so much valuable information. And thank you so much for taking a time. And I know you're in Tahoe right now, enjoying the nice weather, isolating yourself.
Yeah, I'm isolated here, perfectly fine. Thank you, Zarina, so much for spending the time with me. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions if anyone else has more. So feel free to shoot me a message. And I hope that that information was valuable.
Thank you.